Hi, everyone, again. Thanks a lot for taking the time. I'm Oleg. I'm founder of Extrovert. And today I'm super excited to have this conversation with Stef because Stef is one of the brightest minds that I know in outreach, in LinkedIn game in general. He has helped hundreds of founders. He has insanely high reply rates. And he's actually the expert in Yasmin Alic community as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So happy to and super grateful for you, Steph, to be here today and share your knowledge. As I've said, let's do it interactive. Let's do it an interactive, like a workshop style. So I will be mostly in the chat. I will be chatting with you guys. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, just drop them here. If they would make sense to just address right away, I will just let Steph know, and he will, answer right away. If not, we will have the Q&A session in the end. So drop
Mhm.
your thoughts, drop your comments. Yeah, we have 26 people already. And I think we're good to go. So yeah, let's
Yeah,
do it.
let's go. Yeah, thank you for having me, Oleg, and hello everybody. And yeah, let's get started. So let me share my screen and present here. Okay, so this webinar, as you saw the name of the webinar, it's how to get 30% plus reply rate and how to convert leads on LinkedIn. So this strategy is mostly built on a manual approach or an approach that you can use with Extrovert as well. So who am I? Just very quickly, founder of Scale Acquisition AI. I work with 200 plus founders, including creators like Jasmine Alic, Richard van der Blom. They were either clients of mine in the past or current clients. But I also work with startups, bigger companies, agencies. Here are some results. They're either from my own profile or from clients, just to give you kind of like an overview, very quick overview of what's possible in terms of reply rate I'm currently using automation with these tools, as you can see here, so I can get it tracked. But obviously you can get the same results, if not better, with a manual approach, minus the follow-ups. But anyway, let's deep dive into this. So the way I've organized this, I'm assuming that you guys are not using automations. Like it can work pretty much the same way with automation because I'm gonna share with you templates. But I'm assuming you're not using automation and you want to build or improve your system. So I'm giving you like a framework how to build your list, how to create your scripts, how to test it, and how to choose an MVP. And if that's okay, Oleg, I also have a free CRM that I can share that I built on Notion. I don't know if that's something that, anyway, I'll discuss that with you later.
Sure, sure. I
But
think that would be
it's basically a
very.
Notion template. There's a little connection with LinkedIn that exports your leads into the CRM. If that's okay with you, I can share it. No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, that would be perfect. I think that would
Okay.
be quite useful because, we are
Yeah.
now in vibe coding era where people are building their own tools. So I think it's very on point.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to set up and share and easy to keep track of the replies and all that. Okay. So let's get started. So list preparation. So this is really how you create your list in terms of number of leads. So I recommend you test at least 15 to 20 leads at least. This is kind of low number for a test, but it can kind of give you an overview on reply rate, but also kind of like how do you feel about outreach? Because there are different ways to do outreach, but I feel one thing that is not really covered by people, like so many people give up on outreach because the one approach does not fit well with them. So I would recommend also feeling which one is the one not only that gets the high reply rate, but the one that sits better with you. So obviously, if you're using automation tool, I would recommend definitely increasing the numbers here. But if you're going about it manually, you can have at least a feeling for what you're testing. So again, build your list, uh, add 10 new leads a day until you reach 15 to 20 at least per script. And then warm up, optional, but very recommended, put in the next slides, especially if you're doing mid to high level activity using especially using Extrovert. It's something that can save you a lot of time and you can really scale up. What I have in my system, what I basically do, I have VAs that do a couple of comments and then the lead gets moved to the automation or to the next step if you're doing it manually, and you can send basically a connection request directly on Extrovert. If I pros and cons for you. Okay. Can see
Yeah,
the
I'm just
chat.
working with the chat.
Okay.
No worries.
Mm-hmm.
I will let you know if there are any
Oh, okay,
further
okay, okay,
questions. I
gotcha,
will just,
gotcha. Okay, let me
multi-thread
close the chat. Okay,
and
okay, okay,
yeah.
gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, so and basically that's the process. Build a list, warm up, optional but recommended, and connect. So I have before we move on, one quick thing. Warm up of the accounts before reaching out usually I've seen increase the reply rate and acceptance rate anywhere between 10 to 20%. So it's a especially if yeah, obviously if you're focused on social selling, if you're focused on getting high reply rates, but it's really, really valuable if your TAM, total addressable market, it's not incredibly big. That's it a must have. Warm up the accounts, it's a must have if your TAM is small. So, five messaging methods. My strategies like revolve around these five methods. One is compliment plus casual question. It works, but the method number one and number two, they're more kind of conversational. I've seen working better with companies that have maximum 50 employees and solopreneurs. And then all the other methods usually work with bigger companies work better. So exploratory question, name dropping, and value proposition. So I'm going to give you example for each and every one of this. Method one, it's compliment plus casual question. Enjoyed your latest post on topic, or if the lead is not really posting, you can use something else, like something that you have observed in their experience section, in their bio, in the background image, and then a personal observation that can be related to the topic. So, for example, you say, "Hey, I saw your post on productivity. I also have a sign outside my door so my kids don't disturb me when I'm working. They know they cannot open the door, sort of thing." So you kind of like how that post relates to you, and then how's life in city. It's really simple. It might seem like, like who's gonna answer this, but this is one of the automated messages that gets me the highest reply rate. It again works best with solopreneurs and small companies like less than 50 employees. This or that conversation. This is another conversational method. It's basically about the lead. It's like, hey, I saw that you have a business in city. Just out of curiosity, like you have a cookie store in London. Just out of curiosity, do you work with regular customers or do you rely on new customers coming into the store? And then exploratory question. Here we are already entering like an area that like you can use method from 3 to 5 with pretty much any lead. If you are somebody that enjoys a more direct sort of outreach, definitely don't go through the first and second method that are shown here. And definitely depending on who you are approaching, but usually the more conversational approaches have a higher reply rate in general. Um, so I hear from exploratory question, I hear from other founders in the fintech space that, I don't know, hiring, the lowering turnover for the developer talent is often top of mind. Are you, I is decreasing turnover on developers something that you explored, something that you explore, something, on your radar? That's the third method, and then we have two more here. I have
Sorry,
yeah,
Steph, sorry to interrupt. Can you please address the what Luca in the chat has asked?
yeah,
He asks, I receive many messages that are bad copies of this, like, hey, I enjoy your latest post on topic, want to
yeah.
buy my unrelated stuff. And I think this is really important stuff, like,
Yeah,
we all breathe oxygen, please buy my stuff.
yeah,
And the line is super blurry. And can we
yeah.
stop on this? Because I think
So
this is a very interesting question, and people are struggling with this. How do
to me,
you,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So to me, what I do with this, so nowadays I've basically stopped doing cold outreach. So I either target um people that are visiting my profile, so like warm traffic, right? People that visit my profile, people that send me an inbound connection request, or people that start following my profile. And I typically, like nowadays, all of my outreach, regardless of whether it's hot or cold traffic, uses Extrovert. So I do a couple of comments before reaching out, which basically I don't land on the leads, what's called the networking section where you get your connection requests as a stranger, but they typically at least have seen my face before. So that's kind of like I have an history with the leads, so that's why this kind of works in terms of replies. So I would say basically because you have an history with the lead, and I also don't pitch anything in the message. So when I saw your message, it's at the end it says, by the way, do you want to buy this unrelated product? It's not really something that I do. I'm gonna share in the next messages how I pivot from that conversation to basically a sales talk. Do we hope that answer your question, Luca? And do we have other questions, or that was the only one, Oleg? There.
For now, it's the only one. We do have a lot of questions on list building, but I suggest we move it to the Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you guys have any questions about, exact, maybe examples or how this copy methods work in real life, just drop them in the chat. Any concerns, please do drop them and we will address them.
Yeah. Yeah, and also wanna say that I didn't specify it here, but I post content. So I have and also all my clients post content. So that's also another thing that allows you, because I don't know like who joined this call, if you guys are founders or you're SDRs. I know some companies, or typically companies, but also some founders do outreach without posting content. That's also something that content is also something that helps you building a relationship, because people send a connection request, they might go and see your content, they might have like a rough idea of who you are and what you do. Okay, name dropping. This is something I always give this example of. I had this client who he's been working with automation before automating everything became cool. And so he works in a very specific industry that is manufacturing, and he works with really big companies. Like I don't remember the exact size, but let's say 1,000 plus employees, or even probably more. And so basically, he knows exactly like who the competitors of his clients are. And he's somebody's like Steph, when I want a new client, I just go and say, hey, I did this work with this particular company. I got this result, and I have the automation process ready for this particular the automation ready for this particular process. Is there something that you'll be interested in? It was like I have no problem getting new clients, because everybody, like there are like 100 companies, everybody knows each other, and they know they need what I have, and I can provide it at a really good pricing because it's something that I've already built. It's basically templated. And so this is really this is like the name dropping has to be relevant. You cannot name drop. I don't know. I work with Apple, and then you are going to, I don't know, like a small agency and say, hey, I work with Apple and Microsoft and helping them achieve this result. Is there something worth exploring for you, sort of thing? So the competitor or name dropping has to be relevant for the lead you're reaching out to. Then you have a value proposition this is something, for example, that I have replied to very recently. It's somebody that really straight up came to me and said, hey, Steph, checked out what you're working on. They were offering basically the only way to really scale LinkedIn outreach is to use multiple accounts, right? If you do cold emailing, you can buy more inboxes, more email addresses and whatever. But for LinkedIn, that's really the only way. And basically, what he was doing, they were selling accounts for actually good pricing, and it was actually very smart because he was also in the message he puts way, hey, by the way, some of our clients, what they do, they rent the accounts. So in 3 months, 6 months, they already make the money back, basically. So that was a really good message that I replied to. And so this is an example. So we have, these particular accounts that we do. We work with these companies, and some of them already paid them back in, 6 months simply by renting them. Or is it worth exploring a fit for you? So this is a value proposition. This also works well when you have some guarantees that are real guarantees, because sometimes, especially in the outreach world, there's like, hey, we guarantee this result, but you pay in advance, so it's not really a guarantee. I had a client and also you have to understand what it's already offered by the market. So you have to kind of have a very unique and sexy and innovative sort of offer to make this land well. I had a client in the HR space who had a really solid guarantees that if the clients didn't get some particular KPIs in terms of, I don't remember exactly, but it's like employee satisfaction. So they would have surveys periodically, and I think, was it turnover? They will not pay at all. And so they would basically work, I think, 1 month or 3 months for free. And I don't remember exactly the exact number, but they were working really big companies. So they felt confident that they would pay. And I mean, they had history of their, having financial success with their offer, and they also landed really well. Here it's very important the offer that you have, basically, when you have this. If you have worked well on your offer, if you have something unique, this is something that typically might be worth running right away without, having to have a chit chat, a small talk first.
Steph, can you please
Yeah,
address a couple of questions for the audience?
yeah,
Pedro is asking, methods 4 and 5 sounds very pitchy,
yeah,
like you're pitching. So can you please address
yeah,
this one? Like, is it working for you and why? And
yeah.
also, Christian is asking, any difference in outreach strategy for whales prospects, like big ones, versus smaller fish?
Yeah. Okay. So, in terms of five for sure, so both of these you have to have like very relevant results and for like relevant companies that they have. So this is not something, number four, this is definitely not something that you could do. So for example, I work with Jasmine Knowledge, right? I don't really do outreach for Jasmine, but I consult in his community. So let's say I go to another I don't know if you know guys who Jasmine Knowledge is, but it's one of the biggest creator in terms of engagement on LinkedIn. So I could go to somebody else that has a community, for example, and say, hey, I do this for Jasmine. Is this something that you'll be interested in? Sort of thing. Or let's say I was doing outreach for Jasmine and I got particular results for Jasmine, I will go to other big creators, say, hey, I got, 25 client, like, I don't know, I get 25 clients a month for Jasmine with DMs. Is that something that you'll be interested into? So that will be like a relevant, I'm borrowing the credibility of Jasmine basically for my outreach. Value proposition, you have to have something like that really resonates with people. Does it work? Does it sound pitchy? Yes, both of these do, but you need to have something really relevant for people to resonate with these kind of messages. And then bigger company with smaller companies. So as I mentioned, this typically method 1 and 2 don't really work with, let's say, I didn't see good results for any companies above 50 employees. This one, yes, it works well with pretty much everybody if people are willing to open up. And I never really use method 3 manually. So what I typically do, I have a following up message. So I have sequences that touch different angles, but usually, typically the next message is PS, I'm asking this because, and in the because there is always some sort of result that I've gotten for other people, or typically it's a result, but otherwise I have some other touch points, and I frame it in a way that doesn't sound kind of pitchy. So, for example, I heard that other people got this particular result, sort of thing. But to answer your question, yes, these two are kind of pitchy. Uh, and probably for bigger companies, if you don't have something that works well with 4 and 5, I would recommend method number 3. Okay.
Perfect.
Was it?
Perfect.
Okay, I'll move
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Uh, uh, um,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Ollie.
yeah, we can move on. We can move
Okay.
on.
And then, so here, must-have tools, at least Sales Navigator or LinkedIn Premium for, I would say, 95% plus of the people. It's LinkedIn. LinkedIn Premium is not enough. You need Sales Navigator. Then you need a CRM. It's actually not really a must-have, but you can get it for free pretty much, and it's nice to have, really nice to have a CRM to keep track of who you reached out to, what stage in the Kanban they are. You cannot really get, you cannot really, you can indirectly also calculate the reply rate, but it's a little bit, it's manual work. And then recommended for mid to high volume, it's Condo, which is basically a to-do list for DMs and Extrovert. Again, nowadays I'm doing all of my outreach through Extrovert. And this is the final summary. So basically you build your list, you warm up via comments, optional, but it's really recommended for mid to high volume. Send personalized requests and choose MVP by reply rate. So also another thing I want to say, I don't really send personalized requests when I use automation, but if you do it manually, it's simply more practical. One thing you could do, you could send an empty connection request and then you set up notifications. Basically, you're notified when somebody accepts your connection request, and then you send them a DM. But also, it's I wouldn't. Yeah, anyway, it's just more practical. Send a personalized connection request right away. Then,
Sorry,
yeah,
just before we go, I think we
yeah.
have two interesting questions.
Hmm.
So the first one is Pedro is asking, Yasmin Alic has authority. Do you recommend invest
Yeah.
time in effort to build authority? This is the first one. And second one, I think, yeah, the first one is, does it make sense to send this kind of messages without authority? So what would you say to this? And the second
Okay.
question is, I think it's even more interesting one. It's from Yuval.
For people.
So
Hmm.
for people who have this kind of authority, doesn't sending these outreach DMs hurt their
Hmm.
authority? Like you are a
Hmm.
very famous person, but you are doing the outreach. Is it something that can hurt you?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, very interesting because Jasmine often Jasmine Knowledge often shared, I don't know if you guys are following him, but he often shared his approach with outreach. He has a very direct approach, surprisingly. He says, like, I choose the people that I'm reaching out to, and whenever I need client, probably nowadays he doesn't do that anymore, but he used to basically just say, hey, like, do you need this particular thing, sort of thing? Don't remember exactly the script, but he had a pretty direct approach. I wouldn't say. Also, there is what's his name? Um, I forgot his name. American guy coach that always wear a different T-shirt. Now I'm blanking on his name, but he's a pretty big um pretty big creator on LinkedIn. Then what he does, he basically messages new connections. That, hey, this is what I do. Do you want to have more information, sort of thing? So it's very very direct. Again, I would say no. Like it's all about your intention and like really what sits well with you. Like for me, I wouldn't like that kind of maybe I wouldn't liked in the past. Maybe nowadays I feel a little like I would be okay actually with that kind of messages because like I want to also save time on my DMs. And so I would say no. And also if you don't have authority, so first of all, when you say authority, you mean like branding authority? I would say branding authority doesn't mean that much for outreach. It does, it can help you, but also like if you have clients results, if you have worked with, like some important companies, if you have a track record, if you can prove that you have like if your offer is unique and like can resonate with people. So for example, let's say you could afford, I did it once. I tried for a period to do basically revenue share. I worked with some clients and I was like, hey, I actually choose my clients. I was like, hey, most of the times I did it through cold outreach because I wanted to measure the result. And I remember I got 40% reply rate on that message, no warm up, nothing. It's like, hey, I have an offer, this revenue share. Do you need somebody that does outreach for you, sort of thing? And then if they said yes, then I kind of validated later. It's like, okay, sure. Like before we hop on a call, can you share like this data, sort of thing? And if it looked good, I got a few clients on that one. But you need to be like you need to have something unique that kind of like people really need and they feel it's kind of sexy. Pivoting from a casual. Yeah, I'm gonna show you how to do the pivot now. Christian, I see a question here. So I'm moving on, Oleg, because I see there are
Yeah, yeah,
many.
perfect. Let's do it. Let's do
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So this is kind of how I transition from like let's call it a casual conversation to a invite on a call. I do what is called the pivot, then there is the probe, and then there is the invite. So the pivot and the probe, because I showed you 5 different methods. Sometimes I skip one or the other and I invite on a call. But typically, even when I have a direct offer, so I pitched my completely revenue share sort of thing. You don't pay unless you get results. I did I still, when people say yes, I'm interested, I would still ask another question. Okay, that's kind of the way that I go about this. I kind of want to make sure that the person I'm talking with, first of all, uh, feels like feels like a good fit, but also like they also don't have red flags. So maybe I double check on their ICP sort of thing. Because for example, if I do cold outreach on LinkedIn, I would never do I typically if somebody's basically is targeting an ICP that is not really active on LinkedIn, I do not take the client, even if it's even nowadays that I don't do revenue share anymore. But it's like I always ask, hey, who's your ICP? And if they indicate, I always do like a little case study on Sales Navigator, because if you listen to people LinkedIn, seems like nobody has active ICP on LinkedIn, but then when you go into Sales Navigator, there is always some people that are active. At least I would say literally 70-80% of cases when I hear it, my SCP is not active, it actually is if you go through Sales Navigator. Um, so basically this is the pivot, right? Let's say I have asked somebody, hey, like how's life in, I don't know, they are living in London, how's life in London, right? Something really conversational. And they reply and then basically acknowledge what they say. You always acknowledge what they say, like whatever, hey, London's always, raining, whatever it is, and you basically acknowledge what they say. And let's say maybe you say, God, yeah, I've been there once and I remember it was like raining 7 days out of 7, whatever it is. And I saw you're pretty active here. So you're giving context, kind of you make an observation and then you ask your question. I typically like to pivot with this or that question that makes it very simple um, to kind of for the lead to reply. It's like, yeah, I'm here to generate more clients. So in a way, they're kind of opening up or not really closing the conversation on, no, I'm trying to simply expand my network. Yeah, good. I'm moving on to the next lead, right? Because that's kind of you want them to validate themselves. And when it comes to another thing, actually, I did a work. One of my clients was Louis Butterfield. He's a big big creator, but not really big creator in terms of number of followers. But he gets a lot of engagement. He's the video guy, does videos, and our opening was, "Hey, you seem cool. Like, what's up?" And we got so much reply from that message. Like, simply is like a really funny guy, is like really good branding.
On his behalf, you were
Um,
sending on his behalf this
yeah,
stuff, right?
yes. Actually, he was already doing that. He had problem
Yeah.
with the rest. Like he didn't have problem with reply rate. He had really big problems with conversion. So I didn't touch it because like he was working in terms of reply rate. But it was like really, really simple. But he was messaging the warm traffic.
Interesting, interesting. Would
Yeah.
you also a question from my side? Would you recommend to multi-thread personal kind of uh, flow, personal questions and personal communication with the business one? I've seen an advice on LinkedIn that one person is doing it all together. So in his message, he's shaping it like, oh, you're living in Italy. By the way, I've been there like last year, and we are also helping founders, blah, blah, blah. So that he's
Ah, I
kind of
see.
multi-threading in the same time.
So multi-threading, you mean like uh,
Just discussing
creating.
both things all at once in the same message. So they
So
can choose how to
I
reply. They
see.
can reply to one or the other.
I used to do that too. Yeah, I used to do basically my first message was like a this or that, and then in the PS, I would have something more conversational, like a more conversational question. I don't do it nowadays anymore simply because I'm trying to keep my conversations as lean as possible. And, like I don't really like here, for example, they replied to my first message, which was already kind of chit chatty, whatever. I want to keep the conversation. I want to say, hey, you either interested in continuing this conversation with me or not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Christian is asking, the DM structure is very similar to what he's using in the first message,
Okay.
the pivot structure. Any disadvantages of just leading with this as the first DM and skipping the first how's life in the city DM?
Um, gotcha. So you're asking basically,
Like
um,
to skip a step.
yeah. So basically, it's just like, hey, yeah, you can do it. I would recommend. So before I ask a question like this, before I receive a message like this, I can see how having a relationship with the lead can help you. Because it's kind of like, you commented a couple of times and, they remember you and just like, hey, like, okay, this guy's coming up and ask me kind of personal question, I might not be super in super, I don't know, how do you call that? How do you say involved in our relationship? Like we might not have a good relationship and all that, but I don't really trust this person, but we have a little bit of history, so let me reply. So I would recommend investing some time on building a relationship before using this. It really depends what you're asking, and I wouldn't using in the first message. Look, if you're doing commenting and activating the account, it might work, but I haven't tested it though. My feeling tells me that, yeah, with a little bit of activation might work. Yeah. Any other question, Oleg?
Yeah, it's fine. We can go next, I think.
Yeah. The pronoun marker. Okay. Yeah, let's go. So probe. This is kind of like when people reply to the pivot. It's if they're opening up basically when to probe, if they're opening up and mentioning a challenge or a goal. So even saying here, I'm using LinkedIn generate more clients, it's a little like a signal of permission to continue the conversation. If they're saying I'm just here to network, I usually let them go. I'm not trying to kind of convince somebody that is not looking for a solution into, hey, this will be the opportunity for you, sort of thing. It's not something that I enjoy doing. I did it in the past. I didn't see much results, so I'm simply not doing it. Basically, how to probe, acknowledge what they say, ask kind of another question, and so if they say, hey, I've tried to generate clients already, say, okay, good. So who does not want more clients, right? Like a little joke, hey, hey. And then what have you tried so far? Just to kind of further validate and also see if they're willing to continue the conversation here before you could potentially most of the time that I use it with warm traffic. Probe, it's something that you can skip. So I either use it with warm traffic because I simply know that I have more the attention of my leads, and I kind of or I use it when I wanna kind of validate the lead. So there is something that doesn't feel super right, or it's an inbound lead that it's not very clear, like the size of the company, the kind of track record that they have, if they basically have budget for my for my services, and I want to ask an extra question. But sometimes if it's like a bigger company that I'm talking with, I don't probe. They just kind of pivot and say, hey, look, skip to the next message, like got it. So, you're losing more clients on LinkedIn. So also to give it kind of like, so the problem is also to give kind of narrative to your conversation, right? Because if you're asking, are you using LinkedIn to generate more clients? Then the next like logical question is to know, like, how is that working? Like, are you generating clients or not, right? So if somehow let's say the lead in the first message that you look to generate more clients, they say, hey, I look at the generate more clients, but look, didn't really work very well, right? And I know the company is kind of like it's qualified and all that, then I could skip the pivot. It's more like the probe. It's more like a feeling, something that I feel in the conversation. It's not like a structural rule, the step number two, the probe, but I use it most of the times. Have used it most of the times. And then got it. So you tried to run campaigns before, but did not work. I kind of parrot what they said. Like I acknowledge what they said, and then look, this is exactly what I'm good at. I know I can help. Would you like to schedule a call to explore what it would look like if I helped you with X? They say yes, good. I have an open slot on day in their time zone, daytime in their time zone. Please send over your email if that works. If they cannot, no worries. I have another slot open on daytime. Otherwise, you can schedule here. Like I give them the link. I typically do not drop the link. It's a choice that I make because links get lost. People forget to schedule. So it's something that I prefer, like with experience, I'm simply not sharing it right away. And I am always asking for, always offering a one or two slots. And then if it doesn't work, I offer another slot and then I share the link.
Cool. We have also a
Yep.
question from James. Do you think
Yeah.
that overly obvious questions like you're using LinkedIn to generate more clients or simply expand your network, could this be a turnoff for the prospect? Like it's obvious
Yeah.
we're using.
Yeah, yes, it could. It could be. So again, I don't know these people, but so most of these so this is so what I've shared here, it's more it's more like you kind of you need to have a little bit of a branding when you do this kind of it would be advised to have a little bit of a branding when you go through this whole process. Most of the times I use the entire structure here, this kind of question, when people kind of took some action toward my profile, they either visited or started following me. So in that case, if people don't want to reply, don't reply. Not everybody will reply. So maybe probably to the first message I get, I don't know, let's say a 40% reply rate, right? I think on my account lifetime right now, I've shared the link before, I think with you, the screenshot, Oleg, I think it was 59%, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
That's insane.
But yeah, but then on my this or that question, it's like much lower. It might be, I don't know, 20. I don't measure this, unfortunately. I don't wouldn't even know how to do it if not manually and become crazy, but it will be probably 20%. So yes, some people just don't reply.
Okay. Uh, Interesting when you introduced the link element. Did you have any tests or data or compared to going with the link? Like when you got
No,
your.
because that's something that I was taught early on by a mentor that I had. And at some point, I did share the links a few times. And in those few times that I shared, like maybe a couple of times it got lost, people didn't schedule. So I was like, okay, so I think he was just right. And I don't have data now.
Yeah, I noticed it as well. I am always sharing the link myself. I'm sharing it like in a polite mode, like here is my link. Also happy to
Mm-hmm.
use yours. But
Mm-hmm.
more often than not, people start ghosting you, and
Yeah.
it
Oh, okay.
becomes
I
weird.
see.
It becomes weird,
Yeah.
to then
Just
I don't want
say,
to. Yeah.
I heard some demographics, some people that, I heard it and I have not, like, I always work like this and it seems to be working. But especially because, like, when people say, I'm not available in those times, so you just share the link at that point, right? But some people told me that some demographics don't really have time, like, they're really busy, it will be really hard to schedule, to get the right timing. Um, it's I don't know. It's possible. So if you know your demographic really well and you know that they don't respond well to receiving slots and they prefer links, then probably it's better to share links. But otherwise, in general, I feel that's a better option, just logically. But I don't have data really.
Perfect. Cool.
Yeah. So I think um, yep. This is here. This is the ball. It's in your court, Oleg.
Okay, cool. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
I will
Yep.
show you one small part about long-term nurturing, like what
Yep.
happens after the initial outreach. And we will also have some maybe 5, 7 minutes for the Q&A as well. So, Steph, thanks a lot for your part. So,
Of course.
what's happening, with high value accounts or with people who replied, or maybe they haven't replied. And actually, just a little detour. I think when we talk about reply rates and about replies, it's a little bit misleading thing because it can be manipulated very easily. Like we have discussed how the DMs can look like, and actually you can make a first DM 100% reply rates, if you send something like really non-salesy and something people will reply to. But the next DM will have less reply rates, and the next DM will have less reply rates. So I think it makes sense to think about replies in general for the conversation, not just for the first message. And people and accept the fact that people can ghost you at any given moment. That they can ghost you even after the demo if they haven't bought. So I think it's important to have a system, because it's important to have to be consistent with it, with follow-ups and with nurturing. So this is where the feature that we released in December comes in. I see that a lot of people are our users. I'm not sure if everyone is using this. I just wanted to, quickly show you how we do it. So we have a campaign in Extrovert, which we call long-term nurture. And basically everyone who is interested and who I want to have a reply at some point, they go into this campaign. And when they go into this campaign, I don't think I have two streams of activities. I have DMs and I have a post feed for this particular campaign. And I long-term nurture here. So here I see all their posts and I comment once in a while. I just look for cadence, like a weekly cadence. I want to have a weekly touch points. That's what I want to do. And to do so, most of you probably know this. You just use this this thing, touch point frequency. You just set it to 1 week. That way you know that you will have a weekly touch point with everybody. You will not stalk people who post once a day. You will not miss people who post once a month. But the interesting part, and I think the part that I'm very bullish on, is this DM suggestions. So basically it's the same feed like comments, but instead of posts here, you see the history of the conversation, and you see the reason for the DM to pop up. And this reason can be just time. So 30 days has passed since the last message, or if they posted something relevant. And it drafts the the suggestion. Nothing is posted without your approval. It drafts it based on your style and on your context, on your DM playbook that you can plot. For example, for this particular prospect, we have been chatting about Extrovert at some point. My last message was 2 months ago. They wanted to test, but they didn't. And here is my message. Hey, before, since we last chatted, we shipped the DM part. It drafts comments, DMs from your playbook. This part it knows because it knows my playbook. It is actually mentioned in my playbook. If VWO, it's his company, does any LinkedIn outbound or pipeline nurturing, happy to set you up. So basically, like a little bit of a pitch. PS, Don Vipor is the godfather of rejection as a strong brand. And this one is a personalization from his post. I haven't read it. I actually am seeing this draft with you like at first time. I haven't made any corrections here. It's just based on my voice. And what I normally do is I normally approve this DM, and I normally go here to see all their posts as well. And I see what post it is based on, and I comment several of them. The myth don't be poor. So it is based on this post. I haven't read the post. So basically, oh, it's happy birthday to the godfather of everyday rejection. Basically, it's just a joke or something. So I would spend like 30 seconds to comment on this post, maybe to comment on another one, and send a couple of comments, send a DM. And that way I made a lot of touch points, and I'm playing the long game. So in my campaign settings here for long-term nurture for the DMs, I can set the frequency like here I set it to 20 days, but I can set it like really long, like 45 days or 2 months. That way, I know that I will just occasionally, all the time, make a touch point in the DM and make a touch point in the comment. So it makes it super easy because it actually lifts any choice that you need to make by using the tool. So you don't need to worry, do you want to snooze the conversation? Do you want to, how much do you want to snooze it? You just work with suggestions. So our goal with Extrovert is kind of the middle ground between fully manual process and fully automated. So you set up a system and then you just react to suggestions. You come in every day. You have time for process 5 of them or 10 of them. Okay, good. You process 5 of them, then you have more for tomorrow, and it is like streamlined. So wanted to share this part. I want to be just mindful about the time. We have 5 more minutes. Maybe you guys have some questions apart from the questions for the list building so that we can quickly address those, and we will be wrapping up.
I see, sorry, one question from Luca. They was actually asking multi-threading. I misunderstood the question. Um, so what Luca asked, if basically you're messaging different people in a big organization, like sort of a buying committee. I typically do not do that, but not do that intentionally, but it's something that I know so many other people do. Yeah. It's simply for me, it's a problem of um so if you do that with cold emailing, it's very easy to do, okay? Because you basically buy data from a database and all that. But LinkedIn, it's a little bit more complex because what you need to do, you need to save companies first in on a list, or you can use a tool like HeyReach to save maybe, I think the limit is 1,000 companies or 1,500 companies. And then within those companies, you have to look for leads. So you need to systemize it, and basically you need to create different sequences. I'm talking about automation for each lead. So it's not something that I do in general. Might happen like that the system gets more lead within the same companies, but I don't do it intentionally.
Okay. Okay, cool. Did you test comments and DMs on the same day time? Do you see it working better than one touch point at a time? Maybe Steph, you can share your experience, but my experience
No.
is that if you want to stay as far as from being transactional as possible, especially if you are selling to people who are in
Mm,
the GTM space, because they know how the sausage is made and they know this
mm.
process. When you people endorse your skill, people like your post, people comment, then they pitch slap you, and you just see it through. So in my view, 3 comments every day within 3 days is worse than 3 comments within 3 weeks. So if you
Yeah.
comment today to the next week and the next week. So if you can invest some time in the longer cycle, that's actually a part of philosophy that we are trying to build the tool around, is that keep the sequence or keep the interaction, if it's a better word, longer, but keep the effort per lead very low. And I like what Steph had been mentioning about how he structured his DMs to make them, not to make them fluffy, to keep the effort low. So I
Mhm.
think that can be a great thing. Okay, cool. We are almost on time. We haven't had a chance to discuss, list building, and this is a huge topic. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a chance to do another webinar on this. So to wrap it up, Steph, can you please, I know that there are a lot of people here that might require some help with their lead gen. Who should address you in which situation, and what value can they expect to get?
Yeah. So I mostly work with any kind of solopreneur that offer B2B services and also companies that need help with, done for you outreach or basically having a system that does client acquisition in a semi-automated way. So what I do, I install the system so you can run client acquisition in 15 to 20 minutes a day. That's kind of the promise on my profile. If you want more information, go to my profile. There is a lead magnet that it's basically a training on how to basically do client acquisition in 15 minutes a day. I recommend you start from there.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks. So everybody, please add Stef on LinkedIn. Check his profile if you haven't already. Download the resource. Also, just follow him if it's not a fit now to work with him. Just follow him. He shares a lot of great information. I'm following him as well, and I really enjoy the content. And from my side, just wanted to say that if anyone is not the Extrovert user, we'll be sharing, after the call, we'll be sharing the promo code for a discount for 50% off the first month. I will send it over. And we will also send the recording. Please do connect with us on LinkedIn. Always happy to chat. Thank you all for your time. It was a really great discussion. I liked a lot that we had a very active chat. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it as well. And let's keep in touch. We'll do this once more frequently.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Oleg. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thanks, Steph. Have a good one. Have a great end of the
Bye bye.
week, everybody. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.